Spider-Man's Soup's sneak peek, and the bevy of headlines coming out of CinemaCon. All of that and more coming up right after this. Welcome to Multiverse News, your source for information about all your favorite fictional universes. My name's J. Scotty St. Clair, and it is a jam-packed show for you today, so let's not waste any time. We got Haley Hobbs.
In honor of Val Kilmer, I'll be your Huckleberry.
Ooh, I like that reference. We also got Jay Sisson.
Yeah, you know, CinemaCon really took over Las Vegas this weekend, and we're here to talk about it. A lot to break down out of CinemaCon.
Yeah, Vegas is normally Sin City, but it was Cinema City for this week. Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, I am Sin City.
Eli,
That's
I
right.
picture you waking up at like 3 a.m. and you think of that joke. And you're like, give me my notepad.
I wish it was like that. This one just came to me, I'll be honest.
He's that good,
If you
folks.
couldn't tell. All right, let's kick things off like we normally do with a 5-star review, and this one comes to us from Sean John, who says, "There's a movie podcast panel on Earth 616 that I like slightly better. Multiverse News is the best one on our Earth." And on the subject of reviews, anybody that's been listening for the last few weeks, you know that we have a review contest going that is across the entire network. Any Stranded Panda network podcast, if you leave a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify and send an email to strandedpandapodcastnetwork@gmail.com, you will be entered for the chance to win a PS5, and that review contest ends on the 15th. So you got a little bit over the better part of 2 weeks before that ends. So do your taxes and leave a review.
And maybe
Do the
you'll get
taxes
rewarded.
first. You know, I mean, a PS5's great, but like, you know, don't put off doing your taxes.
Yeah. And I should
Or
mention
do.
it's not just a PS5. You'll also get 2 Marvel games. So I know they want to give you Spider-Man 2 and then the upcoming Marvel
The
1943
Hydra one.
Rise of Hydra.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a good one.
And all you got to do is something that takes you maybe 30 seconds. So why not?
Why
And
not
if you're
indeed?
an Android user, you can do it just for this. Just do it for this. If you want to do an
Come
Apple
on.
podcast.
Nobody will judge you. Nobody will be like, oh, he's an Apple guy now.
You will be praised, lauded, paraded through the street in a good way. All right. So as usual, we are still working on different release times because of Daredevil Born Again, which is coming to an end here in a few weeks. So we'll see what happens after that. So always stay tuned on our socials. We're on all of the things, and we always try to keep everybody up to date there. And that's enough of the business. Let's get to it. CinemaCon, the world's largest gathering for the motion picture industry, where studios and exhibitors showcase their upcoming film and theatrical offerings, reigns supreme this week, as the event was held in Las Vegas March 31st through today, April 3rd. Several of the major studios we talk about on a near-weekly basis had plenty to dazzle us with, so let's break it down by studio and/or intellectual property. Sony leaned heavily into its cash cow, meaning it was all things Spider-Man. In addition to placing Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse, the final film of the animated Spider-Verse trilogy, back on the calendar for a June 4, 2027 release, Tom Holland took the stage to reveal the official title for his upcoming 4th Spider-Man film, Spider-Man Brand New Day, along with a new July 31st, 2026 release date. How many times can I say Spider-Man in one go?
5 times fast. Let's hear it.
The day's not over.
I fail.
I would definitely chalk this up to a win for Sony. They were one of the first studios to present early on in the week. They had their panel that first night. This was one of the first announcements they made in terms of Spider-Man 4 getting the official title of Brand New Day. And for my purposes, I think it was one of the most impactful headlines coming out of CinemaCon. It's had the staying power. It's created a lot of conversations. The reception seems to be overwhelmingly positive. And I'll admit, as a person that has kind of dabbled in and out of comics, more recently I've gotten back into them. I am vaguely, loosely familiar with the Brand New Day storyline, but from my understanding, it was kind of one more day. Thank you. So, but I guess One More Day was when he struck the deal with Mephisto, and then the next one after that was Brand New
Day. Its own thing. Strike that. Reverse it.
Well, it's all good. They go hand in hand. It was basically the soft reboot in which Peter Parker strikes a deal with Mephisto and says, hey, I'll give up these 20, 30 years of continuity in my marriage to Mary Jane, and let's, start over again. So obviously the MCU is in a very different place with our Spider-Man, but I think it makes a lot of sense. Coming off of No Way Home, that was a conclusion to that trilogy, so it makes sense to me that they kind of want to start fresh, start new, and Brand New Day is the perfect way to do that. What that entails, don't really know, but the fact that at this point in time, Tom Holland is not a part of Doomsday, it does, beg the question we've been talking about. Is this going to be multiversal? Is this going to be more street level? And it could be the best of both worlds. I have heard a lot of speculation that people think that Mr. Negative is going to be the big bad for this one based on some, casting specifics. I guess they described a character in his like mid-30s to early 50s that sees the world in black and white. So if that is the case, that leans itself directly into Mr. Negative. So if you played the PlayStation games, that first one specifically, he popped up in both of them, but he was the main antagonist of that first game. And I thought he was a great villain. I have also heard some rumors about Chameleon. And that one, I'm reluctant to poo-poo on that too much, but because it all comes down to execution. I'll give you a chance. It's based on the execution. But coming off of Kraven the Hunter and seeing that character there, there's also just the fact that within the MCU, we've had Skrulls. And I feel like the Chameleon is just too much like the Skrull. Now, they're talking about gender bending him and doing something different, so maybe he's a female Skrull and maybe there's some backstory there. They could do interesting things there. But for my purposes, again, I think this was a win. I won't talk too much about Beyond the Spider-Verse because I want to leave something on the table for you. But 4 years later, wow, I think it's a testament to the popularity of this title, that the fact that people saw the first film when they were like 9 are going to be like almost, Miles' age, if not older, by the time they get the conclusion to their trilogy. It worked for Toy Story 3, so we'll see.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't the One More Day comic like not very popular among fans? Like, I don't think people really like it that much, do they?
I think it was when it definitely, I've read that when it was released, it was not received super well.
Yeah, because it is a bizarre thing. It was kind of like, again, from what I understand, it's that Peter Parker revealed his identity following Civil War, and then Marvel sort of was like, we kind of need to get rid of this and make him secret again. And so they were like, well, just bring in a guy to wave his fingers around and make it happen, and some wiggly woos, and there he is. Now he's secret again. But yeah, it erased his relationship with Mary Jane, and he ended up, and then I think that comic, and then Brand New Day was the follow-up where it was kind of like his life in that new role. And I even think like Mary Jane becomes like a superhero or something. And
Jackpot, I think.
Yeah, but people hated it. I think people just hated it, like totally hated it. So I think we've seen Marvel before, though. They don't really take comics word for word, page for page, and adapt them, but they do take loose storylines. We saw that with Civil War, for example, being a good example, even like the WandaVision comics and Secret Wars, and, taking the shell of an idea and then adapting it to the screen in a different way and adding your own spin to it. So I think Kevin Feige seems to be very tapped into the comics world and how comics are received versus not received well and all of that. And I think that type of decision making will come out in this type of movie. So we have the shell of an idea. Nobody knows who Peter Parker is. We know Doctor Strange erased his identity. We know that he's not with our version of MJ in the MCU. And those are the basic bones of that storyline. So it matches up, I think, enough. I still, it does make me wonder, though, about Sadie Sink. We know that she got cast in this movie, and I think if you're telling me she's playing like another Mary Jane or something, I think that starts to get into kind of weird territory with the fact that we already have a Mary Jane, or MJ, I guess, or whatever you want to call her. But that's been, Peter Parker's love interest in the MCU. I think it would be an odd decision to bring in a new character, I think, for that purpose at this point of the game. So yeah, I mean, Scotty, I hear you with the street level versus multiversal. I do have a hard time wondering how it could be street level with the events of Avengers Doomsday, and I think we'll have more answered as we go with that. We'll talk more about Avengers Doomsday here in a minute, but I think we probably will see Tom Holland in some capacity pop up in that movie. It's just a question of what will his role be. But I think we're really going to get the exploration of Spider-Man in that movie. I don't think he will be a main character in Doomsday, but I think we will probably pick up with him again later. But Spider-Man 4 will probably burrow down into what's going on with him while whatever event is going on in Doomsday. But also should be said, and Jess K mentioned it in the chat, first Spider-Man title without home in it. So it kind of sets up really, truly, and the title card of the movie looks different. It doesn't look in the same font as it has in the past. So that seems intentional. It seems like we're starting a new era for Spider-Man in the MCU.
Yep. The John Watts ones have had their day. It's time for a brand new day.
Yeah.
We covered One More Day when we did No Way Home primer for that Spider-Man movie over on Source Pages. So if you want to read it, you can, or listen to that, please do. You can also read it. You can do all of the things that you want to do because it's a free world. So the thing that's like a thread from One More Day that I could see them still tapping into is Peter does all of this to save Aunt May. And
good call.
we miss our Aunt May in the MCU. I mean, we did not get her for enough time, so I wouldn't hate if they did that. The Sadie Sink of it all, I still kind of lean towards Gwen Stacy. She could be Patricia Hardy, but she's not really quite, the actress I would choose for that role, probably just based on how young she appears to be and stuff like that, the way she presents. And so I like Gwen Stacy for her.
I do too.
And I think it might be a cop out, but like I think that's the answer to not having another MJ in the universe. But the other thing that strikes me about all this Spider-Man news, spider news, I killed a spider just a little while ago, by the way, in my house, and I didn't feel bad about it at all. Just like the amount of time it takes to make these Spider-Verse movies, that we're getting an entire live-action Spider-Man before the third Spider-Verse, and just to, I don't know, like appreciate that art form for those movies because it's so special and unique, and look how long it's taking them just to make.
Are we getting both
one.
Avengers movies before it too?
I don't think
unless
we're getting...
Secret Wars gets pushed, because it's May and then it would be June.
That's wild. So
that's
anyway,
crazy.
Just a moment for Spider-Verse appreciation.
The Marvel Cinematic Universe has been able to pivot from one plan to another while Spider-Verse is still trying to make their original plan.
Doctor Doom will rise and fall before the Spider-Verse gets concluded.
At the mention of this being the Spider-Man 4 being the first title not to include home, I did notice, and I do think it's coincidence, but I just wonder, it does share New with Brave New World and then Day with Doomsday. So, coincidence? I think so. But influence? Possibly.
We see you, Kevin.
Yeah.
All right. Well, over at Warner Brothers in DC, James Gunn ran the show, as he's been known to do. While the filmmaker shared an extensive sneak peek at his upcoming Superman, which was released online the next day, he also revealed that circa 2018, he was approached to direct a Henry Cavill-led Superman film for the DC EU, but opted to direct Suicide Squad instead. On the subject of James Gunn's Superman, Nathan Fillion, who portrays Green Lantern Guy Gardner in the film, was announced to be reprising the part in HBO's upcoming Lantern series.
Lots from James, as ever. I will start with the Henry Cavill-led Superman film. It doesn't surprise me that he would turn that down to do something that he can make his own, more than picking up the pieces from Zack Snyder's films, which is what Henry Cavill would have been for another director. This is something he would have walked into and not been able to kind of whole cloth create or change, especially with the aesthetic and the tone of those films that was set by Zack Snyder. Suicide Squad, you can do that with, because nobody's expecting a certain thing from Suicide Squad, except for like all of them to die, right? And so I think it's interesting that he said that, but I get it from his perspective and the kind of director he is. I think it makes a lot of sense. I did watch the clip. It's an extended clip of Crypto taking Superman into his Fortress of Solitude, and so it was good. It continued that heartstrings thread that we had when we first watched the trailer. Like we all had an emotional response to that. I didn't have an emotional response to this extra footage, but you get a sense of, these automatons that are helping take care of Superman. You already like connect with them, even though they're like, you don't need to connect with us. We're robots. We're just here to do our job, which is very funny. And then, of course, it showed the rest of the trailer footage that we've already seen. I don't think that anything new was shown after that, but I love Crypto, and I I love that he at first thinks Superman wants to play, even though he's like laying broken in the snow. Like it's very funny. It's very James Gunn. There's something very James Gunn about it, and so I loved that. And then the Guy Gardner stuff, I think we kind of knew this was coming. I think we speculated, or maybe we'd heard about this already, but it makes sense for Guy Gardner to be in Lanterns as some kind of antagonist, whether that's a cameo or an extended role. But we'll see that haircut again.
That we will. Yeah, I'll pick up there because other than the casting that we've been talking about, like John Stewart Sr. as well as Jason Ritter joining the cast. The last time we really talked about Lanterns, I feel like, was James once again kind of saying, oh, this is completely separate from the rest of the universe. And I think it was at that point where we said, well, let's see. Let's not hold our breath. Let's see who pops up in that or not. And certainly it makes a lot of sense for Nathan Fillion to show up. So that excites me. Lanterns has remained one of the things I'm the most excited for. So to know that it is going to have that connection, that feels right to me. As far as the Superman sneak peek goes, I was really glad that they released the footage. When I first started seeing that they revealed footage and that there were some descriptions out there, I was like, okay, maybe I'll just wait for a trailer. I don't even need to read these descriptions. And I will let you know if you're, traversing the interwebs, tread lightly, because there are leaks out there as well that were kind of, they came out like almost coinciding with this footage. But I agree with what you brought up, Haley. I just found myself like with a big fat smile on my face, and I would just describe the footage as delightfully endearing. It just feels like it really is a throwback to the Silver Age of comics, which was not really what we're used to seeing on the big screen these days. But I think it's time for a palette change and a style change, and Superman is the character to herald that new age. So my excitement continues to ramp up. James is one of those guys. He says a lot of things that perplex us and frustrate us, but I do have a lot of faith and confidence in his ability as a filmmaker.
Yeah, the more I see of Superman, the more I just am convinced that it is going to be the movie of the summer. Like, I think it's going to be huge. I think people are already talking about it. It leans into what he has said all along about it, which is something I love about the vision that we're seeing through these trailers, is he talked a lot about he's a superhero. He doesn't need to be ultra serious, and he's not taking a shot at Zack Snyder, but if you kind of compare it to Zack Snyder and you compare it to that very serious, very like gods in the sky type style of superhero genre with what James Gunn has actively been trying to do with Superman, which is this is a guy, he's got trunks, he's, this supposedly like super good-hearted person despite having all the power in the world. He's not corrupted. There's some goofy characters that kind of fly in, and we just acknowledge that they're kind of goofy. And he has a dog that can fly and things like that. Like, this movie's not afraid of any of that. It seems to be leaning into that. And to me, that's what makes it so anticipated and so interesting, is that it is a change in vision, a change of direction. It's bright. It's not dark. You're not walking away kind of feeling like, well, is Superman a good guy or a bad guy for these choices he made or whatever? You're just kind of like having an enjoyable experience at the cinema with a superhero movie kind of in the way it was originally intended to be on some level. So I think we've talked a lot about it's July. It's coming out at the same time as Fantastic Four and Jurassic World. Man, you stack those three movies up against one another, like, I'm starting to be more convinced that maybe Superman's going to be the one that rakes in the most. Like, I think it's different. And it's not a shot at Marvel. It's not a shot at Jurassic. It's just rising tide can lift all boats in this scenario, but I'm just convinced that this movie seems like the outlier. It seems like it's starting to gain a lot of momentum. The cast seems pumped about it. You know, they're always coming out, and there was Nicholas Hoult was there, and David Cornsweet and Rachel Brosnahan were all on stage. They were having a great time. Like, the press tour is going to be really fun for this whenever it happens, and I'm excited for summer movies. Like, I think, and that's kind of the point of CinemaCon, and we'll keep talking about it here, but the point is to try to hype up theaters and to try to get people excited about the movie theater experience. And I feel like Superman specifically wants to do that. Like, that's part of its vision, is to try to bring a cinema experience to the people. So, yeah, I'm excited for it. I'm convinced every time I see more of it that it is what I think it is.
Before we move on from Warner Brothers and DC entirely, I think it is noteworthy that we didn't get any kind of update on the Batman 2, as far as I'm aware, which is, not surprising, but a little disappointing. And then I was kind of holding my breath waiting to see if we were going to get anything on Dune Messiah, and I don't think we did, but it wasn't a part of CinemaCon, but I did want to mention it was pretty early on in the week, but Jason Momoa basically came out and said, I'm going to be in the third movie. So if you've read the books and you know anything about that, you kind of already know how that's possible. If not, you're in store for how the Dune series gets a little more wild and out there. So look forward to that.
He was really bald-faced about it, too. He was like, it's not my fault. If you haven't read the books, it's not my fault.
That's right.
Like, okay, Jason.
Blame Frank Herbert.
Yeah. I was like, damn.
All right. Shall we shill for Disney?
We gotta. Yeah.
All right.
Moving
on to Disney, Marvel, Star Wars. Marvel Studios shared a new trailer for The Fantastic Four First Steps with CinemaCon attendees, which reportedly electrified audiences and confirmed a fairly significant plot point regarding Vanessa Kirby's Sue Storm, as well as giving a first look at Julia Garner's Shia LaBeouf Silver Surfer. Marvel's other fast-approaching summer tentpole, Thunderbolts, also had time to shine as Florence Pugh shared 5 minutes of footage with the audience, which teased the various miscreants' initial allegiances. Independent of CinemaCon, but still timely, Lucasfilm released a trailer for Star Wars Tales of the Underworld, an animated anthology series that follows in the footsteps of previous Tales series, this time with a focus on bounty hunters Asajj Ventress and Cad Bane. And finally, Disney's offerings also included CinemaCon's exclusive trailers for Avatar, Fire and Ash, Tron Ares, and Zootopia 2.
This is the CinemaCon show, and I think it's important to mention, what CinemaCon is, because I just kind of have a gripe with CinemaCon and the way that it's done. The purpose of CinemaCon, if you don't know, is it is a convention in which people from studios essentially present to theater owners to try to get them excited for the upcoming year in movies. So it's like, hey, you own a theater, here's what we're sending you this year. Get excited about it. Don't be scared that less people are coming to the movie theaters. We're going to give you these movies and really fill up the seats with them. And that's the whole point of it. It's always been the point of it. But it's kind of gotten to this point where it is starting to straddle a line, and I think it needs to decide what it wants to be, because it has gotten to this point where now it's a lot of, we showed a trailer and here's a description of everything that was in that trailer because it's not available to the public yet.
Right.
Well, the problem with that is that you just inevitably see information from the trailers that I would have liked to seen in the trailer. And so Wicked, for example, we'll talk about Wicked for Good here in a minute. There was a trailer shown of Wicked for Good, and there was a spoiler in the description. And of course I saw it, and I was like, I kind of would have liked to have seen that just in the trailer. Same with Fantastic Four. It's like, I kind of would have liked to have been surprised by the emergence of the Silver Surfer in that trailer. It's kind of lame that I had to hear that it was out there, and that next time I see a trailer, there it is again. So it's strange because the stuff isn't released. At Comic-Con, the stuff's released, right? Because Comic-Con is a fan event. You go to it, you see the trailer live, and then within 30 seconds, that trailer is put out to the rest of the world. And that's the whole thing. It's a fan event. That's what it's supposed to be. It's about hyping up fans. And I think CinemaCon has to choose a lane. I think it has to decide, like, do we want to be a fan event like Comic-Con? Like, do we want to do the thing where we're putting the trailers out for the studio heads and then we're dropping them online and it's all about hype and that's the whole purpose? Or do we want to make this an embargoed event for journalists and studio owners and theater heads of theaters and all this type of stuff, make it an event that's closed doors, that there's an embargo, like journalists can't talk about what they've seen until a certain date, and then that's what it's for, because I hate this middle ground a little bit of like, we showed a trailer for Fantastic Four and it showed a bunch of new footage and everybody was screaming because it was so crazy and this was in it by him, so it's this isn't a knock on Disney specifically, because again, it's all the studios did this, but I just find that frustrating a little bit about CinemaCon. It's like, what are you? Like, tell me what you are, and then be that. It's like, stop trying to be two things. But overall, I mean, Star Wars, hey, they've had some great success with animation, as we've seen up to this point. It's where they've had a lot of their success on Disney Plus with Star Wars. And so I think it is exciting to get another animated property here, especially an anthology series. These are characters that were made popular through animation, and we've seen spatterings of them in live action, but these are primarily animated characters where people have grown with these characters through the Clone Wars and primarily. And, I think it's a good move. It makes sense. You're playing to your audience, like your Bad Batch / Clone Wars / Rebels audiences. They're going to eat that stuff up. So totally makes sense for what Star Wars is going for.
I really love the Star Wars Tales series. I mentioned maybe just last week that one of the things I love about Star Wars is that you get all of these small stories within the universe, even though we already know the end result of everything. But because the world of Star Wars is so rich and filled with such interesting characters, I always enjoy the little side quests. And Asajj Ventress and Cad Bane are really popular characters. And yes, we saw Cad in the was it the Book of Boba Fett series?
Correct.
I think, yes. Live action, which is great. Voiced by that actor, Corey. I can't ever remember the last name. So I love those. I think that Tales of the Sith was met with like lukewarm reviews or reception from fans, but I really like it. I like those little short stories. They can keep making them. They could make them forever. And the Underworld thing was originally a concept George Lucas had, I think, for a live action series, and there was like footage shot and stuff. And so this is kind of a little homage to that, I think. The Marvel stuff is like what it is. We're not going to talk about the spoiler, in my opinion, that they released. And Thunderbolts, they're pushing hard. I think what's going to be hard is the almighty dollar is going to be really precious to people coming up pretty soon, and movies and things like that are luxuries will be the first thing to go. So I do think probably theaters and studios are feeling the pressure to put things out there, really push, really market, really show why you should take your time and take your resources and come see these films.
You both make good points. Jay, I appreciated some of your points about CinemaCon as a whole, because it made me think, like, was I aware that CinemaCon was even a thing like 5 years ago? I don't think so. So it's only been like in the last 3 or 4 years that I think they've been trying to, like you said, kind of match step with some of these big fan events. And they're not alone. Like DC has its fandom, D23. Again, I don't know how long D23 has been going on, but I feel like I only started hearing about it, around 2017 or what have you. So I kind of agree. If you're going to basically know that these descriptions are going to be out there, just go ahead and show everybody. Like, what's the point of not showing it at this point? It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But I did read the descriptions, and I didn't feel terribly spoiled by anything. I think they were all things that they were assumptions that we were all operating under anyway. Specifically with the Thunderbolts, again, we're like at the point where I really don't want to know anything else about the movie. So if I could, rewind the clock and not read that description, maybe I would, but I already kind of knew what the scenario going in was going to be there. So, Star Wars, The Tales series kind of holds a special place in my heart because I am a big fan of the expanded universe, the EU. So I grew up reading the books of Kevin J. Anderson, Tales of the Bounty Hunters, Tales from Jabba's Palace. So I still hope that maybe some of those stories will be adapted in some fashion. But what I really like about what Disney has been able to do with their animated anthology series is that they take a side character that people have a lot of love for, but have not really been fleshed out in like the mainstream things that everybody's watching. So with that in mind, I've said it on Animation Deliberation, but I'll say it here again. I hope if the Tales series continues that we will eventually get Quinlan Vos in the proceedings, because he is one of my favorite expanded universe characters. And they've kind of dropped some hints here and there that he may exist within the Disney continuity. So
he does.
Oh, cool.
He's in the Clone Wars.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, he is.
Okay, right on. As far as Avatar Fire and Ash goes, I kind of feel like James Cameron heard that there was news about the Avatar The Last Airbender from Nickelodeon. He's like, okay, anytime I have to make sure people associate Avatar with me, not that one. Okay, and as far as the rest of the studios go, there was a lot of news, so I'm just going to run down a few things and we can just kind of jump into it here. So, Lionsgate announced an animated John Wick prequel directed by Shannon Tyndall and with Keanu Reeves expected to voice the titular character. Chad Stahelski is developing John Wick 5 with Reeves returning, and Donnie Yen will direct and star in a spinoff. Sam Mendes revealed that all 4 Beatles biopic films will be released in April of 2028. Set to star in the films are Paul Mescal as Paul McCartney, Harris Dickinson as John Lennon, Joseph Quinn as George Harrison, and Barry Keoghan as Ringo Starr. Each of the 4 movies will focus on one of the members. Danny Boyle unveiled the 28 years later trailer and confirmed Nia DaCosta directed its sequel, The Bone Temple. He also noted financing for the 3rd film is still pending, urging fans to support the first 2. And lastly, Universal showed off a trailer for Jurassic World Rebirth that has not been made available to the public, but stars Scarlett Johansson, Mahershala Ali, and director Gareth Edwards took to the stage to voice their love and enthusiasm for the franchise.
I'm just going to talk about 2 of these things. The Beatles biopic thing is still so fascinating. 4 films coming out in 3 years is kind of interesting. I do think the casting is pretty on point for all of these iconic rock stars. I know that's like a really tall order, and so you have to kind of feel for them that they're going to get totally harangued by people who just don't want to see something like this. But when you look at the 4 of them and that still together, like you can kind of see it. You can kind of see the Beatles. So
yeah,
I'm just fascinated by this project. And then the 28 years later thing, which is not something I would normally talk about, but when I recently saw a movie, the teaser trailer was played before the film I was seeing, and it is haunting. It has this like countdown nuclear feel. There's this very menacing voiceover that's, I should have done my research, but it's got to be quoting something specific. I probably sound like an idiot, but it was like very disturbing. And so I think that fans of that will probably be really happy. So those are the 2 things that stuck out to me on this stuff.
I should have looked it up before I chimed in, but I'm fairly certain it's a poem by Rudyard Kipling.
Yeah, okay, yes, that makes sense. I did see that like after, but my brain is leaky this week.
The Beatles thing is wild. The April of 2028 is what's getting me, that they're going to release all 4 films in April of 2028, which I find totally fascinating. At first, I'm thinking, like, it doesn't seem like a great move. Like, you're asking people to go to the theater 4 times in a month, which basically you're asking them to go every weekend for a month to see this different movie. But I also think it's one of those things, like, if you see the first one, you kind of are going to naturally want to see the next 3, because why would you only watch 1 or 2? You're getting only 25% of the story if you only watch 1. So it seems like you have to sign up for all 4 if you're going to sign up for it. So I think it's a really just interesting experiment in film and cinema, and I think it's a really ambitious project. I love the casting across. Like, I think the casting is wonderful for this, and I love all four of those guys in those particular roles. So I love the idea of shooting from different perspectives, but I just kind of remain sort of like eyebrow raised a little bit as to putting them all out in a month. But at the same time, it wouldn't make sense to put them all out a year apart from one another either. So I guess I see the logic in trying to capitalize it on as a moment, as like a shared experience, as like a or I guess it'd be like a 8-hour experience or something broken up over the course of a month. I think is really interesting. And then the John Wick, it's a lot of John Wick, I gotta say. We're here in the next, so we have 4 John Wick movies. We have the Continental, the series that came out. We have Ballerina getting ready to come out. Now you're going to have John Wick 5 plus an animated John Wick movie plus the Donnie Yen spinoff. And it's a lot of John Wick. I mean, they are really doubling, tripling, quadrupling down on this franchise. And I think it is a popular franchise. I do wonder, is it too much John Wick? Like, are people losing their appetite for that franchise, especially as you start to get into other mediums like animation and you start to get into spin-off characters? The Continental, for example, was a pretty forgettable series, and it was not very watched across the board. So it's you got to wonder, and I think Ballerina will tell a little bit of that tale. Like, how popular will that movie be? If we look at it and we're saying, yeah, it's looking pretty good, it's making a lot of money, it's got a high cinema score, it's got good reception, good ratings, then I think we can say, all right, yeah, this franchise has got legs outside of Keanu Reeves leading it on screen. But I think, again, I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that people will turn out for John Wick stuff that doesn't really feature the character of John Wick. So we'll have to wait and see. And it should be noted, too, that Keanu Reeves spoke at length about how it was very hard for him to do this character because of his knees, that he is literally, when he's in those movies doing those stunt scenes, he looks so tired by the end. He's panting and sweating. He's actually panting and sweating. He's actually tired because he's older. Right. So, I guess they roped him back in to do a 5th movie, which if you've seen John Wick 4, you're kind of like, how? But questions will be answered, I suppose.
So you might say we're in the thick of the wick. Right?
Ew, I don't like that.
I'm sorry. I agree with everything that you said regarding John Wick, Jay, but I want to hone in on the animated series because I feel like that is the thing that just excites me the most. I agree with you. I think there's the potential for some fatigue when it comes to John Wick. Like I said, I never checked out the Continental, but I am interested in the theatrical offerings. Now, an animated series, like...
I think too. I should pop in real quick. I think the animation is it will be a film.
Oh,
we don't know if it'll be in theaters or not, like War of the Rohirrim style or not. But I think it is a film.
Okay, yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. But regardless, I think this is a franchise that lends itself to animation depending on the style. Like I could really see with the gung fu and the hyper stylized violence, like if you lean into like an anime style that might be like cell shaded or something like that, it could look really sleek and really cool. So I would be down for it. Now, the Beatles story got a lot of love, but all you need is love, right? So I'll chime in on that one too. I do think the release strategy is fascinating because to both of your points, like what is that going to look like? I imagine they have to do some kind of staggered release. Now, would they lead with Paul or John? I think that makes the most sense. But I think from a business standpoint, if you actually lead with George or Ringo, that's going to, get more people to turn out for those Beatles, and then, maybe go the distance and say, oh, I'll come back for my favorites in Paul or John. But yeah, it'll be really interesting when we get the box office reportings. If it's like, hey, the John Lennon opened at number 1, Paul McCartney's at number 2, and then the other 2 don't make it in the top 10 or something like that. It's like, I'm just saying, that seems to be the general sentiment when it comes to people's favorite Beatles. But
I wonder too if you'll be able to buy like a ticket bundle. Like I would imagine, like your theater, your local theater, it would make a ton of sense. Like if I'm a theater, I'm saying come buy all 4 of these at one time and get a discount, because then that assures you will show up for all 4, rather than only, every week maybe you can't this week, maybe you can't next week or whatever. So I would imagine we'll see some kind of bundle to where you could get like a nice percentage off if you buy all 4 at once.
Yeah, definitely. If they're not thinking that, they should be. So
hey, I'm just giving these ideas out for free over here.
I'll bring it home by addressing the Jurassic World Rebirth footage there. It would be nice if that was made public, but the thing that I really that stood out to me is Scarlett Johansson. And I wasn't there at the event, obviously, so I'm reading all of her words secondhand, but I really did get the impression that this is a franchise that she's been trying to be a part of for a long time. Like, I guess, she does demand a certain paycheck, so that was kind of an issue prior, but at this point she said, whatever it takes, even if I'm only in the first 5 minutes and you want to kill me off, I just want to be a part of this franchise. So with that kind of enthusiasm, and we know that David Koepp is coming back after a long absence, I think the pieces are coming together for a really great Jurassic entry. We'll see. All right, and we are going to pause for a break, but don't go anywhere, because when we come back, we got so much for you in the lightning round. We got Universal, Amazon, Lionsgate's, and Paramount's CinemaCon offerings, some of which we've already talked about, but there's way more to talk about. There's live action Legend of Zelda news. Hot D Season 3 begins filming. And David Fincher is set to direct a Tarantino script. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Multiverse. So I wanted to do something different. So I was like, I apologize. I don't know what.
Put your stamp on it. Put your stamp on
it. Make it your own.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll workshop that one. But welcome back, everyone. Hope you had a nice break there. Whenever we get back from the break, we like to talk about our Patreon. So who wants to take the reins as we talk about Patreon?
I can talk about Patreon. We have a Patreon. It's $4 a month. Just think of it as $1 a week or $1 per Beetle movie, if you want to think about it that way. And it's at patreon.com/multiverse newscast. You get exclusive content over there, our tangent talks that can be about anything and everything and have been. You get the live stream replays there exclusively. They go away on YouTube after we're done recording. You get your own polls. You get to just talk to us and pause for dramatic effect.
Get the sticker.
You get the sticker. And
there it
is.
Had
a new patron this week, and I just put their sticker in the mail. So you too can have a patron exclusive sticker at patreon.com/multiverse newscast. And we love you all so much that we're shouting somebody out every week. And this week's Patreon shout out is Tim Lozier. I hope I said your name right. We do love you, even if I said your name wrong. Thank you for your support.
We'll be starting an ambitious project on Patreon where we will make 4 films, one from each perspective of the hosts of Multiverse News. So we'll have Haley's, Jay Scotty's, Matt's, and my own films about the making of this podcast. So stay tuned.
All yours for $4 a month. We should.
Good stuff. Good stuff. All right, let's turn to our weekly Spotify poll, where last week we asked, did you watch the Doomsday Cast announcement live stream? At 57%, we've got no.
Understandable.
I'm a part of that party, thankfully so. At 24%, a little bit.
That was me.
And at 8% apiece, we've got more than half and couldn't turn away.
Look at you, stalwarts.
Okay. 5 hours, you're like, sign me up, baby.
Yeah, I know. Ashley Coffin, friend of the show and mainstay of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I was in a message chat with her and Matthew Carroll as all the names were coming through, so she was very gracious by providing us with updates because I couldn't tune in. But after the fact, when they edited everything down to like a less than 2 minute video, she was rightfully pissed. So I'm just glad that it wasn't even an option for me to tune in, because I would have been tempted to tune in for all 5 hours.
Yeah, I had to bail after a while because, real life and work. Yeah. But yeah, awesome.
All right, time now for the lightning round. And if this is your first time tuning into Multiverse News, the way the lightning round works is we have a slew of topics that did not qualify as feature stories, but they still warrant a conversation. So we're going to run down them, and at the mention of them, everybody has the opportunity to claim a story by chiming in with their name. And first come, first serve. So if you do miss out and want the opportunity to chime in after the fact, that's when you get your chance for a rebuttal. So with that out of the way, let's kick it off. Sony's live-action version of The Legend of Zelda hits theaters March 26, 2007, as announced by Nintendo on Friday. Directed by Wes Ball, who directed Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, the film has yet to reveal its plot or cast. Scotty, I'm definitely a big Legend of Zelda fan. So we've been talking about this adaptation for a couple of years now, ever since the Mario Brothers movie. So at one point in time, we were talking about it potentially being an animated film. Now, I do think that would have been the better route to go. But of all the Nintendo franchises, The Legend of Zelda is certainly one that could make a big splash in live action and have a huge impact. So knowing that it's like less than 2 years away, we got to start hearing some stuff pretty soon in terms of casting, because they got to hit the ground running and start some filming here soon. Now, I know Wes Ball is a very economical filmmaker and can make things happen pretty quickly, but this is a franchise that, begs the budget and the time to do it right. So I hope they do. Amazon MGM's spy series Citadel, produced by the Russo brothers Agbo, faces budget and creative issues, delaying its release from fall 2025 to spring 2026. All spin-offs are on hold, at least until season 2's release, if not indefinitely. The news follows the surprise exit of Amazon MGM Studios head Jennifer Salke.
Jay, the Amazon shakeup is real. They apparently had a lot of creative differences over James Bond, and it is not coincidental that they had some leadership changes after they acquired James Bond. It seems like, just from the rumblings that the trades are reporting, that Jennifer Salke just had massive creative differences with Barbara Broccoli, and I guess she just couldn't even stand to be in the same room with her or something like that. And it ended up kind of getting to the point where they just said, all right, well, we value this James Bond franchise so much, and we have to appease this person that we have to change up our leadership roles. And so this switch up, when it happens, means that certain projects are going to be reevaluated. And from what I understand, Citadel was a pet project of the last regime. And so whenever the new regime comes in and you've got the series that is overblown budget-wise and was way over budget and was kind of watched but not really, and we already have Jack Reacher and we already have Jack Ryan and we already kind of have your spy shows, that maybe we don't necessarily need it as much as we thought we did as a flagship program of Amazon. So, Amazon up to this point has been kind of a series of successes and failures. It's had some big successes, but it's also kind of pushed a lot of money into franchises that haven't had the return. Like the Rings of Power comes to mind, like the budget of the Rings of Power and then the viewership of the Rings of Power does not match up. If you're the person in charge of the bottom line, you don't like what you see from that. So yeah, I don't think we're necessarily done seeing a lot of shakeup at Amazon. I think this James Bond thing, it costs so much money to acquire it that they had to make it work, and they had to get rid of some people and bring some new people in, and that's going to change some other franchises along the way.
Lily Taylor has joined Daredevil Born Again Season 2 in a recurring role as a political rival to Wilson Fisk, per Deadline. Scotty, spoilers for Daredevil Born Again Season 1.
Right. That's what I was like.
David Ayer's film, A Working Man, starring Jason Statham, took the #1 spot at the domestic box office this weekend with a $15.2 million opening. Snow White took in $14.2 million, a steep 66% drop in its second weekend. At this point, Snow White has made $143.1 million worldwide. Scotty, I did not make it out to the theater this weekend. I saw Jason Statham and David Ayer's team up last year with was it the Bee Man? What was
Bee Man.
The Beekeeper.
The
Beekeeper.
The Bee Man.
The Bee Man. Which was good.
It's the Bee Man.
Yeah, it was fun. It was decent, but for me, it wasn't anything to write home about. So when as I was going through my weekend, and I was like, do I want to make it out to the theater? I think I'm good this weekend. So, and I think that's reflected in these hauls that we see.
Snow White, big yikes, $140 million worldwide
Woof.
in 2 weeks. Yeah, it's going to drop even more. I mean, this movie, Yeah, it's a story. I mean, we covered it all last week. We don't need to go into it again why it failed, but this is a big time failure for this film. They can't get it on Disney Plus fast enough.
Ketchup Entertainment has officially closed a deal with Warner Brothers for around $50 million to bring the shelved film Coyote vs. Acme to audiences. The film is now expected to get a theatrical release in 2026.
Haley, I'm going to have to go see this damn thing just because we've talked about it so much that I need my own return on investment of my time to see if it was worth saving.
Hey,
it better be worth saving. It better not be bad after all this.
If this can be like the Who Framed Roger Rabbit for a new generation, or for my generation.
The possibility is there.
Yeah. Totally, not unrelated, but, not in the docket here. I did hear some rumblings that Warner Brothers may be looking to sell the Looney Tunes, which would be
wow,
historic.
An institution.
That's all, folks.
I get it. It's a joke.
Yeah. But I do think that speaks to maybe the lack of staying power with the Looney Tunes, because I know I watched the same Looney Tunes that my parents watched when they were growing up. I remember my dad being like, oh yeah, I watched Bugs Bunny, and now I don't think kids are watching because there's so much animation out there, and with streaming there's just such a glut of content. You don't have to go back to watch those old classics.
What if they put it into public domain? And all these crazy horror movies started getting made about the Looney Tunes. Yeah. Actually, that's not a bad idea.
It's time for Space Jam 3. That's the only answer.
That's right. Everybody get up. It's time to slam jam. Max has undergone yet another refresh in its logo and color palette, ditching the blue interface for a new black and white monochrome aesthetic, evoking HBO branding of the past.
Haley, listen, if you're a longtime listener, I went on and on about this back when they changed their name.
That's why I put it in there.
And changed their color twice. This is the third time they've changed their color. And you know what? It's a bad move now. It's a terrible move because Apple's the black and white streaming one. That's their logo, which is iconic because it's Apple. And now you literally on my TV, it's Max and Apple next to each other. And I'm these are the same thing. I hate it. Just stop it. HBO.
They're like, yeah, we're highbrow television too. We're prestige, mature television.
Watch your stuff. Quit screwing around with the branding. It drives me crazy. Okay,
I've been saying it the life of this entire podcast. Bring back the purple palette. Nobody else is doing it.
Agreed.
Yep. Bring back the purple.
Purple is the best.
It was working.
Agreed.
I release you.
House of the Dragon Season 3 has begun filming and will feature Sons of Anarchy's Tommy Flanagan as Sir Roderick Dustin and Dan Fogler as Sir Torhin Manderley. The season will run for 8 episodes.
Haley, I don't remember these characters from the book, but it was also 800 pages. So I feel like we thought House of Dragon Season 3 was far away, but maybe it'll get moved up a little bit on Max. Maybe they want that done a little sooner than they originally said.
Dan Fogler kind of stands out, though. How often does Game of Thrones universe hire American actors? It's he got on this one, and then he was on the Fantastic Beast as well.
Peter Dinklage.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, that's a good call.
Jason Momoa too.
Jason Momoa.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Right. Okay.
But,
Scratch
it.
Scratch it.
We got 2.
All right.
Jason Momoa is not in that show long.
True.
He does not stick around.
Sydney Sweeney is in final negotiations to star in the live-action Gundam movie coming together at Legendary.
Jay, I saw this news and I thought, oh, that's cool. Sydney Sweeney is going to be alongside Henry Cavill in that movie about that giant Japanese robot. And then I started Googling, and apparently Gundam and
Voltron.
What's the other one called? Voltron are not the same thing.
They are not.
People are mad at you now, Jay.
Yeah, but listen, they look extremely similar. A Google image both and a squint, and it's hard to tell the difference, is all I'm saying.
It's an easy mistake to make for the unindoctrinated, but my initial takeaway is I guess best case scenario, this ends up being for 13 to 17-year-olds what that first Transformers movie was for 17-year-old me.
Yeah, you're talking about Megan Fox. We all know it.
Yeah, I didn't.
We
need
were
to
all
be
there.
said.
You had to be there. We all remember that. We all remember the hood pop scene.
Oh yeah. Who's gonna drive you home tonight?
Brought a whole generation into manhood.
That's right. All right. A Once Upon a Time in Hollywood follow-up is in development at Netflix, directed by David Fincher from a Quentin Tarantino script. Brad Pitt is set to return with Leonardo DiCaprio possibly joining. Filming may begin this summer. Scotty, this is kind of huge. Like, Quentin Tarantino, it's not the first time that another director has taken a script that he's worked on. Natural Born Killers comes to mind. There are a few others that he's done that are escaping me here, but David Fincher is a filmmaker with such a style of his own that I'm optimistic about this, and I want it to work out because I love Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and I love the characters in it, and I would love to see more stories from them, but at first blush, like, I just don't know if this thing's going to go the distance. Like, I'm prognosticating that there's going to be some clashes about, Tarantino's vision versus what David Fincher wants to do with it. But maybe Brad Pitt is the super glue that will make this thing work. Like, I want to be the optimist, but it would definitely be one for the ages if they manage to pull it off. It shouldn't go to Netflix, though. Put that thing out in the theater. All right. Val Kilmer, famous for his roles in Top Gun, The Doors, Batman Forever, and many others, has passed away at the age of 65.
Haley, I did my homage from Tombstone, where he played Doc Holliday, and let's not forget Willow, that he was in as well. Val Kilmer, unfortunately, he faded away from Hollywood when he got throat cancer. He lost his voice. If you've seen Top Gun Maverick, you know that that's true because he spoke very little in that film. But that scene between he and Tom Cruise in Top Gun Maverick is just so poignant, so needed. I know that Tom Cruise really fought to make sure he was in the movie and to have that impactful scene, to show the difference in the characters all these years later. And so it's a loss. I also, when I was reading about him this week, he was the youngest Juilliard admit ever.
Oh.
He was 17 years old when he went to Juilliard.
Yeah.
So what a sad, 65 is young, but he contracted pneumonia, and when you've got prevailing health issues, that is definitely one of those things that will tend to get you. So just rest in peace and go watch Val Kilmer movies all weekend. I will say I actually loved his Batman. I don't love Batman Forever, but he was a really good Bruce Wayne.
Nice.
Agreed.
Oscar-nominated writer Billy Ray, who penned The Hunger Games in 2012, will adapt Suzanne Collins' The Hunger Games: Sunrise on the Reaping for the next film in the franchise. Scotty, I guess I have become the de facto Hunger Games guy, which I don't mind. I like the franchise pretty well. And I think the turnaround on this one is what's most interesting to me. This book just came out in March, and here we are. We've already got, which I guess is not all that surprising.
I think we knew and reported that she'd already sold the rights.
Oh, that's right. And I think that's kind of been Suzanne Collins' kind of her mission from the very get-go, even with the first Hunger Games. She kind of wrote that hey, I'm gonna get this thing adapted. So with that in mind, though, the fact that we're bringing back Billy Ray now, I recently rewatched the 2012 Hunger Games and reread the book because I'm appearing on friend of the show Sarah Day McDougal's podcast Book Watch, which does not come out for another month towards the end of May, but I'll mention that again. But for my purposes, that first movie is my favorite movie. I watched Catching Fire, and I watched the first of the Mockingjay ones, and I just felt like it was diminishing returns to me. So I'm excited for Billy Ray to come back to the proceedings, and I thought Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes was pretty decent. So I think this could be a second life for the Hunger Games franchise, and I would be happy to see it. At CinemaCon, director John Chu showed the first trailer for the upcoming film Wicked for Good, the sequel to last year's Wicked. Although the trailer is not yet available to the public, reactions online were very positive.
Haley, I'm sure they were. I will tell you, they released the poster, and I think the poster looks terrible.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
It's like really
It's a little busy.
overproduced.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
it's a little
yes,
busy.
in my opinion, and I'm thinking they need to streamline that a little more. But
Okay.
Wicked Part 2 for Good is gonna just do gangbusters, so they don't really have anything to worry about. The poster is a nitpick. I just keep seeing it. I'm like, wow.
This week, Nintendo announced that the Switch 2 will release on June 5th at a price point of $449.99. The announcement also included information on the hardware and system, as well as planned games at launch.
Jay, a lot of the conversation around the Nintendo Switch 2 has been around the games and the price point of the games. So the price point of the Switch is, $450 or whatever. But the price point of the games is going up to about $80 to $90 a pop. So we have entered a new age
Not on
of
my life. Oh my god.
of cost for gaming. And so a lot of people that's where a lot of the conversation has been online around the Switch 2 is the price of games going through the roof, and the absence of physical media, which I think is a shame. Nintendo is going to be selling their games as a digital copy at $80 and a physical copy at $90, but the physical copy is not a physical copy. It's just a code that you plug into the Switch and it downloads the game from a store. So it's not really a physical copy. And so it is a shame because, Nintendo ended the support for the DS last year. And when that happened, if you had bought anything from their store, you lost that. And so if you didn't have a physical disc to be able to plug in, you can't play that thing again. So it is a thing that we're starting to see in gaming, I guess, and it's a conversation, and I think it really exploded this week with the announcement of the Switch 2. Is like people want physical media, but they also don't buy physical media. Like so it's kind of like it's this weird we like to have it available, but we as a whole as a society we don't really purchase it very much. So I know I'm kind of getting into another tangent here, but I think it's been an interesting conversation online about gaming and physical media, and when I buy something, what do I own? If I buy it from a store online, I'm renting it from you essentially. I don't own it, and you can take it away at any time. And it just doesn't sit right with most people.
Yeah, I got to chime in. When you mentioned that Nintendo was discontinuing support for the DS, that's digital store, right?
Well, the Nintendo DS, the
dual screen. Oh, you were referring
DS,
to the handheld.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The actual handheld device. Yeah.
DS. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes okay.
Yeah. They announced it in advance. It was hey, we got a few months, we're going to discontinue this thing.
Okay.
But it was just it just kind of, it's like if you didn't have physical copies of things, it just kind of screws you a little bit. So, we're entering a new age for sure.
For sure. Fox has picked up 4 20th TV animation series for 4 seasons each, renewing animated Star Wars, The Simpsons, Family Guy, and Bob's Burgers for 4 more years, and confirming American Dad's return to the network after an 11-year break, also with a 4-season order. Scotty, this one's a little bit of a mixed bag for me because it hasn't been officially confirmed or anything like that, but I have been reading that this might make some other shows kind of be on the bubble, particularly The Great North, which also comes from the same creators as Bob's Burgers. And that show's been going for about 5 seasons, and I kind of like it better than Bob's Burgers at this point. At least it's doing something new, and I actually feel the same way about American Dad with Family Guy. It's just the better show, and I think the move to TBS actually was a good move. It gave it a lot more freedom. They were allowed to make more crass jokes and not be as beholden to having to entertain families that could be tuning in at prime time. So hopefully everything works out the way that it's supposed to. It sounds like a vote of confidence in American Dad, but I hope it's not at the cost of something like The Great North or Fox has a long history of trying new animated series, but they only go for a season, 2 seasons, maybe 3 seasons before they cancel them. But I would like for The Great North to stick around. So I'll get off my soapbox. Universal has slated the live-action How to Train Your Dragon adaptation for a June 11th, 2027 theatrical release.
Haley, I saw the quote about this from whoever was reporting on it, that this looks to be one of the best live-action remake movies. So if this is a film franchise that you love. Hopefully that boosts your confidence and you'll go see it in 2 years. That's wild that it's 2 years and we have as much trailer.
That's what I was thinking.
I think
the amount of marketing is weird.
I think let me double check. I think that they are talking about the sequel to
that would make sense.
I think this is How to Train Your Dragon 2 live action.
Okay, that makes sense.
Hold on, let me
Sorry everybody.
Do a quick googie goog. Yeah, this is How to Train Your Dragon 2.
It's like a sieve up in my head today. Okay. That makes sense.
Yes.
Because the
first one comes out like
this year,
right?
Yeah.
It comes out soon. So.
We know
we got it.
Yeah.
We got it. All right. We got to the destination. Okay.
Deadline sources are reporting Meryl Streep's Meryl in the Streeps, Lady in the Sheets. Deadline resources are reporting Meryl Streep is in talks to voice Aslan in Greta Gerwig's Chronicles of Narnia for Netflix, but has not entertained an official offer yet.
We all have something to say.
Listen, we love Meryl.
Oh, yeah.
It's not a Meryl problem. It's starting to be a Greta problem, in my opinion. Like, I think, Scotty, you were the one that said this just seems like rage bait in our group chat. It's like, I said to you guys, like, I did not like her Little Women remake, and so maybe Greta needs to have more creative freedom, like with Barbie, like with something that's like very fresh and different and new. Because I hate to be the person, but there are some things you just really don't need to step on, and to me, this is one of those things. Like, I mean, Liam Neeson like voice Aslan, like that's so iconic, and I don't know. I just
it does feel kind of like a troll move a little bit. Like it's like you asked the question like who would piss people off the most? Let's get Meryl.
And like Meryl Streep is a weird choice to do that with. Again, it's not like that's not the thing we have issue with. It's just that it's a weird.
It is. It's odd. If you gave me like 1,000 guesses, like who's gonna voice Aslan, I would never get to Meryl Streep. Give me 5,000 guesses.
Natasha Lyonne.
Hey kids, let's take out the White Witch.
Or Julia Garner. She's like, y'all better get back through that wardrobe. I don't want to see y'all around here no more.
Yeah, I love it.
Do not cite the deep magic to me, witch.
We got our favorite Jeff Goldblum. Ooh, we got a White Witch over here. What are we gonna do, kiddos?
Oh my god, I love it.
And then of course Chris Pratt. Chris Pratt, yeah. But it's just his voice. It's like, oh yeah, that's just the Mario voice again.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
It's really good.
Whatever.
Blumhouse has dropped the first trailer for horror sequel Megan 2.0. The film releases in theaters on June 27th. Scotty, this trailer slaps. This was awesome. They took the concept of the first one, and the easy thing would have been, let's just do it again and up the ante and make 2 Megans or make Megan, extreme or whatever. And they make you think that they're going to go that route by introducing this new AI, Amelia. But then they basically set you up for Terminator 2. Megan's coming back, but she's a good guy. We got to work with her to take down this new threat. But I'm not convinced. It seems like they're making the transition from horror to action, which I think they will do. But I think it will be revealed that Megan is the architect of everything. She actually created this other AI for them to go find her and give her an upgraded new body. And it's like, hey, help us take down this threat. But then she gets to get her revenge from Megan 3. Calling it now.
The enemy of my enemy is my friend.
That's right. Looks great, though. Even if you're not a horror person, like I think
it did look fun.
You will get a kick out of this, yeah. Paramount has released the first trailer for the Naked Gun reboot. Let me say that again.
Did you say naked?
I did.
Naked.
Which is
hey, he's naked.
That was something I did when I was like growing up, like living in Georgia. But I made like a conscious effort to like change to naked. So like that was just like that came out of nowhere.
That's so great.
Paramount has released the first trailer for the Naked Gun reboot film starring Liam Neeson, which hits theaters on August 1st.
Jay, it's definitely not trying to update itself for the modern time. It's if you see the opening scene, it's it's definitely trying to lean into the Naked Gun humor of just being like off the wall and wacky and weird. It is a weird trailer, and if you have no background with Naked Gun and you just saw this trailer, like you're just like a 20-year-old or something and watch this trailer, you'd probably be like, what the hell did I just watch? So, I mean, it's definitely true to the franchise, I guess, if that's if you wanted a Naked Gun reboot, it's definitely trying to be true to that.
The red band nature of the trailer, that's not, I mean, I haven't seen a Naked Gun movie in a really long time, but they weren't like blood spray, were they?
Yeah. No.
So that's an interesting, I figured that was new and interesting.
Yeah. Paramount debuted new footage from Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, which sees Tom Cruise's Ethan Hunt clinging to the wing of an airborne biplane as it flies upside down.
That's our dude.
Yeah. Again,
he really did it too. He really did it.
Of course he did.
He was hanging on that plane.
Yeah. Unfortunately, this is footage that we didn't get to see, but I do look forward to seeing it in all its glory and just seeing how Tom Cruise can, kill himself on screen for our entertainment.
Or try to.
Try to.
Make sure you're following Bingers Assemble. Matt, Scotty, and I
That's
will
right.
be covering that in almost just about a month and a half.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Blumhouse released the trailer for Five Nights at Freddy 2, also known as FNAF, which Jason Blum first shared on stage at CinemaCon dressed as one of the game's animatronic baddies. Scotty, I will admit I did not watch this trailer. I just kind of missed it. I haven't seen the first movie yet, so maybe I wanted to avoid spoilers for that, but I think it's pretty awesome that Jason Blum came out dressed as an animatronic, and I just want to use this opportunity to mention again, this will feature our friend Matthew Lillard, who we met at Dragon Con.
Personal friend of the show.
That's right.
You're going to have to eventually.
He's going to be on one of these days. That's right.
Yeah, we need to get the Matthew Lillard on Multiverse News episode going at some point.
Yeah.
Starts here.
We're working up to it. We're working up to it slowly. It's a process.
Okay, and finally, in a video message at CinemaCon, Kevin Feige confirmed that Marvel Studios is not done revealing cast members for Avengers Doomsday.
Haley, yeah, we know, Kevin. You're a little bit
you're not
behind
fooling anyone,
the
Kevin.
We've heard through the grapevine.
What if they did another chair thing? They're like, part 2. It's 5 hours. And it's like Tom Holland. And then 10 minutes later, it's like Chris Pratt. And it just does the whole thing again.
Paul Bettany.
Oh, God.
All right, well, that is going to bring this episode of Multiverse News to a conclusion. Thank you so much for tuning in and bearing it with all of our CinemaCon shenanigans. And you stay classy, Multiverse.